Hey everybody, this is Erica from the Classy Climb blog. I'm doing a 2017 State of Our Union. We're talking about credit, cash flow, and the new America. So let's get started. A lot of things that I've been seeing the past 4 years during Obama's administration, just during TV, people around me, friends, college graduates, I have to talk about it. I have to let Donald Trump's not going to come and change anything. This is really a you-focused change for America. So first off, don't get on the train late. And this is what I mean by don't get on the train late. There were Lisa Phillips and a few other people who were investing in $30,000, $50,000 homes. Paula Pants of Afford Anything. And she was investing in Atlanta. And they were investing in cheap homes. People said, oh, those houses are crap. They'll never appreciate. They're dogs. They're nothing. Now, 5 years later, more like 3 or 4, everyone's on the bandwagon of like these really cheap houses. And your first thought is, why don't the poor people that already live in those neighborhoods invest in those homes? Well, one, the economy, right? They're not having a secure, stable job for 2+ years, or they're buying vehicles instead of saving that money for a home. A lot of Black people lost out with predatory lending in 2008, a lot of Latinos too. And so they are ignoring that cheap property all around them. So you have the combo effect of people now finally going, oh, these really cheap homes, I should go in there and put $1,000 down payment down and get in that property. Then you have people who already live in those communities like, well, I don't want to put in the work to fix the kitchen. I don't have the money. I need a move-in ready home. So then they move further out, and now you have that happen over the course of years, and now you have gentrification. You have Oakland, Brooklyn, you have city after city I can name where Black people don't live there anymore because they didn't invest in it when it was dirt cheap, pennies on the dollar cheap. They left. So again, pay attention. The trends that are quiet start to big rumble, okay? So again, credit reports. Credit reports. I remember people talking about fixing your credit, and people be like, man, I ain't worried about my credit. I got cash, my car's paid off, I'm paying on my house, I'm fine. Well, something happens to them, they lose a job, they lose that car, they have something else happen to them, and all of a sudden, I need to be worried about my credit. I have a 0 credit score. I had an uncle who'd been paying cash for years. He had no credit, not a 0 credit score, but just no credit. And so he literally had to go get a Lowe's card or something and do a few things where he had a secure loan and a secure card and a Lowe's card and started rebuilding his credit so he could buy this rental property. Because before he bought dirt cheap land and then would just put trailers on them. But he was ready to get out of trailers and go to something else, right? So that's why it's important. And now you see all over Facebook, people talking about credit repair, and people having free groups. Hey, you need to do this credit repair. I don't have a problem with the free groups, even though I'm a person that suggests paying someone to do it because you may not stay consistent. A lot of times I see people who have come to the paid credit repair have been people who started doing it themselves for free and then didn't keep following up and didn't stay consistent. But they realize that people look around you. Honestly, there are kids who live away from their parents, have vehicles, work 30,000-a-year jobs, and the only difference between them and the people that are living at home is they have a credit card. They have a safety net, even though they shouldn't use credit right away, as a safety net. So they're traveling, they're going on these vacations, their Instagram looks great, they look great, but you don't realize they have credit card debt, right? Same goes for people I know who started in businesses who came out of high school and college. They had credit cards. They got into a home, they had an offer letter for a job, got into a townhouse, rented the other room out, and then started their business, whether online or Craigslist, at eBay, Amazon. I know a guy right now who's never had a full-time job ever. I know about 5 of them now, but I do know this one from Louisiana who just buying and selling 4-wheelers off Craigslist for years. Now he does Amazon FBA. Now he's buying investment rentals because you must realize the name of the game is ownership. If nothing else you learn from Donald Trump and this presidency and who he is picking in the cabinet around him is ownership matters. Owning property, owning land, owning something matters. You can't outwork your life, right? Like there's people out there working 2 or 3 jobs, and I always ask them, I said, are you investing in Lending Club? Are you investing in bank certificates? Are you investing in CDs? No, I'm just trying to get debt free. And I go, well, what happens once you get debt free? Because a lot of these people, what happens is they take 5-6 years to try to get debt free, don't get debt free, and are stuck in the system of working 2 and 3 jobs. Trust me, I know it. I had an experience with it, and it works for a little bit, but you have to have an exit strategy. My strategy was real estate, but everyone's is different. Okay. The key there is a really great blog you should read, an article you should check on is Mr. Money Mustache, How to Retire in 7 Years. Now, he is a little extreme, and that's okay. But him and his wife and his kid, he only has one kid, they only spend about $27,000 a year. And you're going to go, how is that possible? One, he doesn't work. He doesn't commute to work. He was an engineer for 10 years. He bought a home, paid the home off in 10 years, had just kept investing every other dollar he had between him and his wife. And they just live off the returns of the investment. Now, he even wrote an article, if he had to start over from scratch, the first property he would buy would be a fourplex. Him and his wife and kid would live in one unit, rent the other three out, and then a year or two, buy a new house. I know people who have done that here in Austin, Texas. They started all the way out in Round Rock because that's where they could afford, move further into Austin, then move further into Austin, and now they're freaking East Austin. They're like downtown basically at this point because they have enough cash flow and enough assets to afford to be down there as the city gets more and more expensive. So ownership is the name of the game. Making sure your credit is kind of out there so you can have the access to have capital. There are a lot of people right now on YouTube with fitness channels and different types of podcasts going. What has kept them in business and what jumpstarted their online business was credit cards. It just was. It was a $25,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 business credit card. Point blank period. Now, what's the key to that? You have to have something to sell. You have to have people to sell to. And you have to have an actual treat this like a business, not just I have a credit card and I'm going to go travel for 3 months and then I'm broke and I have to start all over. That's how a lot of people are using it consumer wise. But a lot of people are like, well, Erica, how are these people retiring in 7 years and figuring it out in 10 years? You aren't taught this in school. You really aren't. You aren't taught this in college. You aren't taught in school unless you go out and find the personal finance classes, go out and find the business classes and really look around and open your eyes and realize the kids in school, the kids at college, and the kids in life who are just kind of stress-free at this point are parents who own businesses that they know they can go work for. People who know that, hey, I have a skill or talent from my father as far as construction or real estate. So I know I can just jump back into that with a little bit of capital. Credit repair, right? Credit reports, business lines of credit, okay? There's a lot of those kids I meet, and now they're all adults, and I can see the difference of a few extra years of your parents' time and investment with you changing your life. There's a lot of kids working jobs who are super talented, super smart. They just don't realize if they had a $20,000 credit card and the 40 hours free or the 70 hours a week they work free to think outside the box as far as what they want to invest in, what they want the next 10 years to look like, they would have a different life in 2 years. Absolutely different life. So again, who wants you to be dumb? The credit card companies, if you look up at the holiday system, Christmas, January's New Year's, February's Valentine's Day, March is March Madness for basketball, April, April, May, June, July, it's always something. It's, 4th of July, it's holidays every time you turn around with the incentive for you to spend money, right? And if you're not on a business plan, if you're not on a track to go, hey, I'm going to spend this money for this other thing, or I have a larger long-term investment in my head, so I'm not going to spend this money. But if you don't have that thought process, then you're just always spending money. Why do you think there's people working to their 60, 70? I remember working at a bookstore, Borders, before it closed, and asking the lady, why was she still there? She was like 70. Why don't she go home and chill her grandkid? She was like, dude, they're going to have to carry me out of here. And when I mean carry me out of here, dead. Like, there was no savings. There was no plan. Her and her husband broke up, I think, 10 years ago when he was 60. And she realized neither one of them really had a pension. So he, he's probably somewhere living really poorly and she's there living really poorly. So, if you're in a marriage or a relationship or with friends and there's no game plan, there's no long-term, this is how we're going to have our future, that's really, really, really rough. And the more people I'm meeting and I'm talking to, I realize they don't. They're 30s and they're still like, I have no idea what the plan is. I don't know how to get out of this. And I remember watching a video and going, I must. I think I went to a conference that weekend too, but I was like, I must in the next 90 days buy a property that I either live in and rent the rooms out, or that I own and do ABC with, right? So it's just like you have to sit down with yourself and create a State of the Union plan for yourself. Because if you don't, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. Hey, Nicholas, sorry. I see you guys' comments. It's hard to keep track of my notes I have on the left and read the comments on the right. But again, what are some of the things you can do to be free, that you can do to really set yourself apart and go out and change the next 4 years? Is have an absolute plan, for one. Seriously, I mean, like right now, what is your credit? What does it look like? You know, if you need it, a lot of the clients, when they see their credit scores, they're like, what? I have a friend who checked his credit score the other day, 745. And so he just realized I could have access to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of credit cards, but he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a desire to travel. He doesn't have a desire to do much, but just kind of hang out and chill. So he doesn't need it. But if you're a person who are like, man, I need to get out of this situation, or start my business or whatever, that needs to be your goal. And cash flow is important. There are people who are hairdressers and small business owners and plumbers and mechanics who pretty much work off cash flow. They don't care what their credit looks like. They care when they want to buy a building. They care when they want to buy major purchases, but most of the time they don't care because they have this cash flow. And that's what you're trying to tell people. You're like, it's this cash flow that's making their life smoother temporarily. And so what is the number you need? Is it $4 grand a month? Is it $5 grand a month? What are ways to get that without you having to endlessly search for a job, because the job climate where you're at may be rough. Austin, Texas has 28,000 jobs available according to Indeed and all these places. But you got to realize a lot of them are food, a lot of them are service that people don't want to do. For whatever reason, they don't want to do them. That's none of my business. But okay, if you think you're destined to do something better, what's the plan? And so when I talk about credit repair on here, and I talk about getting your business credit where you get $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 around the first time you apply, that's why I'm talking about it, because there's a lot of qualified people who could be having their own business and they don't. So figure out your next 10 years, figure out how you want to retire. Do you want to retire? Some people never retire. Some people never get those years to travel. They never planned for it. So the key is to make a plan. If you guys want to talk to me, definitely hit me up below at the links. This is Erica, Classy Clone Blog. Talk to you guys later.